Whether you're just starting out in photography or filmmaking, or you're an amateur, or you're a professional photographer or a filmmaker, a lot of times it's actually a good idea to also invest in used gears. And throughout my career as a professional photographer and a filmmaker, I've invested in quite a few used gears like the original 1DX, the 40D, the X-T2, the X-T1, and so many other cameras, whether it's for fun or also for professional use as well. And for this video, I actually narrowed it down to 3 different main points why I think it's actually good to actually buy used gears, whether you're professional or just starting out in photography or filmmaking. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So as I mentioned earlier, throughout my career as a photographer and a filmmaker, I did invest in quite a few used gears, whether it's the X-T2, the X-T1, the 1DX, and many other cameras, lenses, and flashlights as well. And in this video, I'm just talking mainly from my point of view, from like what I learned from buying all these different gears, and hopefully it will actually benefit you or help you to actually decide whether or not you should buy your next gear used or brand new. I have nothing against brand new gears. Of course, I bought a lot of gear brand new. For example, my X-T3 that's filming me right now with the 16mm f1.4 lens, the EOS R, my 5D line of cameras, and many other cameras as well are brand new. But in the same time, I also think that with secondhand gear, you can actually save a lot of money and also do so many other experiments with secondhand gear, which leads me into the first point. Again, they're not in any particular order. This is just what I have written down on my list, and it's really subjective on which priority is more important for you. But the first one is actually a small one. It's negotiating power. When buying secondhand gear, if you find something or different offers and narrow it down to maybe the top 3 or something, it's always nice to actually have negotiating power, because it's not brand new gear. Even if it's brand new, if you can negotiate, usually it's just very small margin. But when it comes to secondhand gear, you can really negotiate a lot. And there are so many different with secondhand websites where they actually allow you to bargain or bid on or just offer special prices to the seller. And you guys can just come to like a mutual agreement, and you actually will save a lot of money for that as well. So it's really nice. And the second point is actually a couple of points together in one. So leading from the negotiating power down to price, of course, you'll be paying less than brand new gear, even if you find a mint quality. For example, if I use the example of my 1DX here, it's actually in a really sorry, that's the 1D Mark III. That too is also in a really mint condition, but like this 1DX is also in a really mint condition. Yes, there were some shutter life in it because it's secondhand, but otherwise it's been really reliable, and also it's really mint. And I got it for 850 euros when it's usually going for like about 1,000 euros. So I saved about 150 euros there, and it's really nice. And usually at 1,000 euros level point, you usually see a lot of scratches and color coming off on this side, but this is still really mint. So if you look closely and if you have patience for it, which is also a fun in itself in a way, you can definitely get really good price and also really good condition for the price as well. And also, if you're a professional photographer or starting your path into professional line of work, you can also see it as like a really cheap backup system. So for example, I use my 5D system. I also use my EOS R system cameras. Those are usually brand new. Well, I only buy brand new gears for those system, but I actually bought the 1DX as my backup gear, because in case my 5D dies or my EOS R dies during the shoot, or some other cameras that I have with me, at least I have my 1DX as my backup. And if you're professional, it's always crucial, and I highly recommend to get a backup camera or backup gear to have. And this is not only to cameras, but also to lenses, and also other equipment that is essential during your shoot, whether it's flashes or reflectors or any other gear, whether it's major or minor, it's always important to have backup, and I cannot really stress that enough. And especially if you're doing something like event photography, wedding photography like I do, you know, if my camera fails during the wedding, then yeah, I'm not going to be able to tell the guests, and most importantly the groom and the bride, to say like, hey, my camera broke down, can you do your first kiss again, or can you just schedule another wedding and then I'll photograph again when the camera is okay. Of course I cannot. So it's always good to have a reliable gear, backup gear, and you know, if you can get it for a really, really reasonable price, that's a plus. And of course, with the extra money that you save from buying used backup gears, you can actually invest in other gear as well. Like you might invest in other lenses or other flashes as well. And the last sub point, which I have for this particular second point, is accessories. You will probably, if you look closely, you will probably find really nice accessories that comes together with the camera itself. So in that way, you're also saving money, not only from buying used gears, but also saving money in terms of like if there's already extra accessories that comes with the camera. So for example, earlier this year, I bought the 40D, the 10D, things like that, and yeah, a few other cameras, and they all came with other accessories. For example, the 10D came with the really, really nice professional Canon external flash, and when I sold the 10D earlier, I still feel sorry and feel bad, but I'm moving soon, and I'll talk a bit about it more in the last point. I actually kept the accessories that came with it, and I was able to sell the 10D for the price that I originally got it for. So yeah, you can actually save money on accessories as well, and the accessories could be useful for you. And which brings me to my last point, which I kind of hinted earlier already. So easier to sell. What I mean by that is, well, you're not going to sell it right away, but what I mean by that is you will probably be able to sell it again at the very, very same price or similar price or even higher price than when you first got it. Because sometimes what happens with a secondhand product is the price just fluctuates. Sometimes you just happen to be selling it at that time when the price of that particular gear is very high, so you can actually earn something. So for example, with the example of my 10D that I gave earlier, I was able to actually sell it for the same price because I really want to get rid of it. Not because I hate it, but because I might be moving soon, and you know, I'm really like sadly saying goodbye to a lot of my gear. If I could move with them, I would, but I also have a lot of things to take with me. But anyway, back to the video. Even though I sold the 10D at the same price that I bought it for, I was able to keep some of its accessories like the flashlight, some little pouches, and some memory cards that it came with, because I still like buying a lot of older DSLRs, but older DSLRs accepts older CF cards, and the older CF cards are not really available in today's market anymore, apart from the secondhand market. And they're usually very expensive, at least here in Northern Europe. So it's still good to save some of those older CF cards so that it would be able to work with my other, well, future old DSLRs or cameras that I will buy. So yeah, that's pretty much the main 3 points that I have. So the negotiating power, the price point, also backup gear, save money in terms of accessories, and also the actual price tag itself. And of course, easier to sell if you decide to actually sell it again. Of course, with the last point of easier to sell is also important because, for example, if you figure out at the end of the day that, you know, this brand is not for you, or photography or filmmaking is not for you, you still can actually sell the equipment at roughly the same price or even higher price point than when you first purchased them. So that's definitely something to also consider. Whereas if you were to buy it brand new, you might have to, you know, sell it at a loss most likely. So yeah, and of course, if you're actually purchasing secondhand gear from, let's say, a big dealer, a big store, then of course there's the advantage of still saving the money, some money, but also having the advantage of warranty. So yeah, take it as a grain of salt. That being said, I'm not dismissing, you know, if you really like buying brand new gear, then go ahead if you have the money for it, if you know what you want, and if, you know, your standard is only buying brand new gears, then of course, just do it. I'm not against buying brand new gears. As I mentioned earlier, I purchase a lot of brand new gear myself for various reasons. And there are also gears that I would only buy brand new, such as things like microphones and anything to do with like hygienic. Like for example, I don't feel like using a microphone that I know that, well, that I don't know how many people have spat on it. So I would be very uncomfortable with that. So yeah, there are just certain gears. For some people, it might be like lenses because of fungus or something. So it really depends on your standards and what you require from your gear. But of course, there are also some gear which cannot be bought brand new anymore. So secondhand is the only way to go in that case. Also look for reliable sources or reliable descriptions and pictures. And yeah, it's always fun and treasure hunt looking for really nice bargain secondhand gear, but also be careful when buying them in the same time. Read everything carefully, ask questions if you need to ask questions. So yeah, I hope you can actually take something from this video. I hope it's actually useful, if not then a little at least. So yeah, anyway, if you need a free photography guidebook, it's linked down in the description below. It's absolutely for free. You don't need to submit your email address, and I will not send you any newsletter nonsense. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you very, very much for watching. Stay safe, have fun shooting. Bye for now.